good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in the world. Welcome this morning to Baobab Chats, where we will be talking about polyandry in Africa. Are we ready or are we not ready? Well, we are soon to find out. And today I am not flying solo. I am flying with Tariro, Roland, Linda, Lesejo, and Daniel. And so we're going to be tackling this topic, and we are really just looking forward to having a conversation. And wherever you find yourself, make sure you don't leave your screen, be glued in, connect with us on the chats, and we want to hear your views as well. So yeah, polyandry in Africa. I'm going to start with you guys, with you, Roland. You can just introduce yourself and just let us know what are your thoughts on the topic.
Okay, good morning, guys. My name is Roland, and I am so very much excited to be on the panel. So, from my personal view on the subject of polyandry, I'll say that it's not compatible. I believe that it's not compatible with the current wave that we are in Africa, be it culturally and be it with this wave of equality that we are trying to put it forward to say that, like they should be, like, genders should be equal. I don't think the whole aspect of polyandry is compatible, and in defining it, the fact that a woman should have or is allowed to marry as many men as possible as she wants, I honestly think that it's not compatible. So that's my first point of call, that I don't think it's compatible, and it's not in a tradition or a practice that I would garner for uphold.
Okay, so yeah, so what is polyandry for someone who's just tuned in and they don't know, they've just maybe come across this broadcast? What is polyandry? Can you just maybe elaborate more on that? And then we'll pass it on to Linda to go next.
Okay, so polyandry basically, it is a practice whereby a woman is allowed to marry as many men as possible as she wants. That's the general look of it. And there are mainly two forms of it, which is the fraternal polyandry, whereby the woman is married to brothers, like of the same family. And then there's the non-fraternal, whereby, like, a woman is just allowed to marry men who are not even related. So, like, that's the basic take of it, and I'm sure other panelists can also expand from there.
Cool. Linda, do you want to take it away? Okay. You might be on mute.
Sorry about that. Okay, so like I was saying, yes, like Roland explained, it's a form of polygamy. So where the male has more than one wife, it's referred to as polygyny, and then where the woman has more than one husband, it's referred to as polyandry. And it's practiced in other parts of the world for different reasons. And if we are taking it up in Africa, we need to understand our reasoning behind it, because it's very easy to motivate for it. It's very easy to have a reason to, yes, because equality, or yes, because of this and that. But in reality, what is the reasoning? So, for example, the fraternal one, where it is practiced, the idea is to keep the family wealth within the family, and not have it being split into other different families, where this one has this wife and then that other wife's family then comes in. So they have one family, one wife, and they kind of preserve. And in other parts, it was for agricultural reasons. There was very few women, they didn't survive the climate, and then one woman had to have multiple husbands for reasons. So what is our reasoning for taking it up in Africa? Where are we going? Why are we doing it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you raised some very valid and very important points. And I think some of them are going to really guide this conversation as to exactly why, what is the reasoning behind it, and are we ready as a society? Um, so, Daniel, do you want to have a take on what is your take on polyandry as a man, and you are in Nigeria and representing our African sisters and brothers in Nigeria. What are your thoughts? You might be on mute as well. Yeah, Daniel, you're on mute. Yeah. Okay, so it seems that Daniel is having some technology issues. Maybe Tariro, you can just go ahead and just share your views at this point.
Hi guys.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, we
Hello?
can hear you. Okay, so maybe take it away, Daniel. We can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
technology is,
Sorry
yeah.
about that. So I had some technical issues. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the discussion. Yes, polyandry is a very, very difficult subject to talk about because you get to you have people talking from different perspectives. I think one of the most compelling arguments I've heard so far is the gender equality argument. A lot of women and other proponents of polyandry, they want to say, okay, if a man can do it, a woman should be able to do it. If we have polygamy, I mean polygyny now, where a man has multiple wives, why can a woman not take as many husbands as she wants? Speaking from an African context, I think we need to understand the concept of the African family. And if you look at the way African families are set up, I would say that largely there is a male figure who's supposed to be uh, provide the leadership and support for the family, and that's why polygyny, a man having multiple wives, is more common in Africa. And while I wouldn't say I'm an advocate of any type of polygamy, I feel that largely polyandry will not be compatible with the African culture in so many ways because primarily the setup of the African family uh, does not uh, does not allow for that much flexibility, and also I would say that the whole gender equality argument, a woman can do it as long as a man can do it. I don't think it applies in every single instance. Um, of course, it's obvious that whether we like it or not, there are gender roles assigned by nature. For example, a man cannot breastfeed a child. That's very very obvious. So it's not going to work for every situation for us to say because it works for men, it has to work for females. So that's what I would like to say at this point. Maybe the other panelists can also take it up from there.
Yeah. Take it away, Tariro.
Okay. I think, generally speaking, I think a woman can manage having more than one husband. Um, Not because people are saying if a man can do it, then a woman can do it, but I think people can do polyamory, right? A woman can have five boyfriends, manage well. So I think, on general terms, a woman can manage to have more than one husband. But I think this thing is affected a lot by biology, nature, science. I mean, it poses a lot of difficulty and challenges on the woman because I was just thinking about it. Maybe if we are to talk about how someone would manage issues to do with paternity, pregnancy things, how takes, I mean, the child, whose surname does this child adopt, who heads the family. like Daniel was saying, in Africa, we are a patriarchal society as Africa, and I think the world at large is patriarchal. Whether it's good or not is another thing. But it being a patriarchal society, and we know, or we generally know, that a child takes the father's surname. So now, what happens? Do they do DNA tests after they have the baby, so that they figure out who the father is, or do they just say, you have 5 fathers, you just grow up knowing I have 5 daddies and they are all the same? So I think it really is a concept that has a lot of difficulties and challenges if you want to try and understand it. How do we manage all those things? Generally, a woman gets married, then they become Mrs. Mungani, for example. So now, if I get married and then 5 years down the line, I decide I want another husband, uh, I was Mrs. Moyo. Then I marry a Chuma. Now, what happens? Are we saying we are changing that, and then the man now is the one who is taking the say names, or what? I'm sure you get what I'm saying. I think it's really a difficult concept, because basically we are saying we now want to dismantle everything that we have culturally. We are destroying the whole structure that we have and try and come up with something that we have to manage. And even if we do that, biology is going to catch up with us, because a lot of things are going to be very difficult. It's easy for the man, but it's going to be very difficult for a woman, biologically speaking. That's what I have for now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you all raise very important points, and I think those are all the things that we need to consider. Does a woman now then have a double barrel surname? I mean, what happens? Roland, I saw you shaking your head as Tario was speaking. What is there something that you want to add to this discussion, or to the points that she has raised?
Yeah, I would really love to add to say also, like, when she was talking about patriarchy, that in my view, from what from the way that I understand polyandry, it's actually an extension of patriarchy in a way, because if you look in classic polyandrous societies, it's not like a woman would just walk up one day and say, I want to marry this kind of a person. No, it's the first husband who actually initiates that we need another man in the house, or it's the first husband who decides, who has the final say. If a woman brings that to the table and say we need another man into the house, is the first husband who says it's a yes or it's a no. So you are not really dismantling patriarchy, you're actually extending it, because it's the first husband who is in control of what the woman is doing. So it's not even equality. If you're saying that it's if people, they are peddling this polyandry and say it's equality, it's not equality, but we are actually retrogressive, because we are giving men more power over women to control them, because the men can just wake up and say we need another man into the house, and is the woman going to have a say on that? And if a woman wants to have another man, it's the man who actually decides to say, okay, it's a yes or it's a no. So in either way, a woman doesn't have control at all. She's just as I don't understand why people would want to say, let's do it for the sake of equality, because it's not equality. It's just an extension of a system that you say it's bad. For those who say
Can I
that
say
patriarchy
something?
is a bad thing. Yes.
Go ahead, Terry Reese.
Um, well, I'm thinking, if we are to adopt it, are we saying we are taking it as it is, or the way they do it in those societies? Because I was trying to figure out maybe a situation where a woman gets married and then they actually decide they want another husband. I mean, can't we have a situation like that where we are saying a woman is the one? Okay, it's a matriarchy. I think that's the word, where it becomes a matriarchy, kind of a setup where the woman is the one who is in control, who is in charge. I know some are going to say, no, there's lobola, what, you are not going to control a man once he pays lobola. Yes, that's another thing that's going to stand in the way as well. But in imaginary terms, can't we say a woman can also be in charge? She is the woman of the house. I mean, men are always saying, I'm the man of the house. Like, she is the woman of the house. She wakes up in the morning, she's like, you know what, babe? We need another man in the house. We need another man in the house. And then they have it, but in a way that is not being controlled by the men. It's now the woman who is calling the shots. I don't know if we can have that kind of a thing. So in a way, I'm saying maybe we can have our own polyandry here in Africa, that is different from the classic one that Roland is referring to. Oh, my thoughts.
Okay, can I weigh in on that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, first of all, referring to what Roland was talking about, I think yes, in some communities, people, the husband or the man in the relationship gets to initiate it. But if we bring it to um, what we see being advocated right now, I think the idea behind it is give women the opportunity to take as many husbands as they want. So I wouldn't say that. I would say that people who argue from the equality perspective, that's where they're coming from. Let's give women the ability to take as many husbands as they want to, not necessarily being influenced by the males in the relationship. And I would say that to me, I think one major issue that would have to be addressed is the issue of competition. Okay, I believe that men are highly competitive. Okay, it's Tari was referring to the fact that some women keep as many as 5 boyfriends and they manage very well. But I've seen several instances where perhaps one of the partners found out about the other, and it's got very 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 aggressive. So I'm trying to say that males are by nature more competitive. From my own experience, I don't know if that's general, but I think from my experience, males are more competitive than females in relationships. A woman easily, in most instances I've seen, backs off from aggressive confrontations. Even if a woman does confront other partners in a relationship, I think it's less aggressive compared to what I've seen some men do. So I think if we have a polyandrous setting, you'd see a lot of, in fact, I argue that crime rate will go up. I can argue that there will be a lot of societal unrest because there will always be that competitive drive in a man to keep a woman for himself. And I think that's one of the factors that made polygamy to, the male version of polygamy now, where a man has multiple wives. I think that's one of the things that made it as popular as it is because men generally have a possessive, men are naturally possessive, more possessive in relationships, and polyandry would put a lot of things at risk. So that's what I would say for that.
Okay, yeah, sure. Very interesting. You guys bring a lot of interesting points. But I mean, if we were to take it into the context of, well, polygamy, because I think to some degree there's a form of we want equality in as much as we don't want to put it out there and say women want to be equal to men. And I think that is why the polyandry and all of that. And I think it was Roland who said that the husband would have to agree that you get another husband, right? Which is what happens in polygamy, is that you consult with the first wife to say, hey, I want to get myself another wife, right? And so there's also that aspect of the male is the one who's providing, right? Who's getting this woman. There's that traditional aspect of you have to now go and pay lobola and create relations with this family. So now we're flipping the coin and we are saying women can now do the same. So does that mean now that a woman would have to on set in the relationship say, hey, look, I'm gonna get married to you, but I want to be the one who's running this show. So does that mean the woman now has to pay lobola? Explains to the guy that at some point I'm gonna want another husband, because we tend to think that people that are in polygamous relationships, they just wake up one day like that. They already know from on, most of them, they know from onset that I'm a polygamist and this is what happens. And so these things get discussed at the beginning. So now, so I guess my point is, are women now going to take those roles to say, hey, I'm the husband, or well, I'm the wife, and I'll pay the lobola and we're going to get another person? Is that how we're going to do this whole thing? Linda, you can maybe tell us your views. What are your thoughts? How are we tackling this whole thing?
Yeah, I think it can be arranged for a woman to be paying dowry, and then um, the bottom line is any one of these arguments that we bring forward, things like paternity. Paternity can be determined. I mean, in the old system, in the classic system, there was, you were assigned the child. The child is yours. Yeah. So, you are the father to this child. And traditionally, in our traditions, in different ways, there's ways that people test for paternity. If you're really, really concerned that, is this my bloodline? Then there's ways of testing that. There's ways of making it a matriarchy and making it the mom is now in charge and she calls all the shots. We can do all of that. But at the bottom line of making this decision, it can be an equality decision. It can be, I can wake up today and decide, listen, I'm a gray person. And I will convince everybody, listen, I am gray. Do not call me brown. Do not call me black. I am gray. And my gray identity is this, 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 that. I will shout if there's a form that doesn't have a tick box that says gray person. So I can motivate. And at the end, once I motivate and decide that there are going to be great people in this world, we can do that. Everybody can do that. Everybody can motivate and establish whatever form of way of social structure they want to decide. But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves as a society, what are the long-term implications of this, right? So Tari mentioned earlier that later on, the bloodlines, there's going to be complications. You have to be defining what the complications are. Because if you just say complications, people will say, oh, you want to play God with us. You want to play Deputy Jesus on our lives. We know what we're doing, and they will motivate for it. But be truthful about what are the long-term implications of declaring yourself gray today. Tomorrow, when you fight with an elephant, can we, over the color gray? What then happens? Like, what are the long-term implications of having this structure in our societies? What does it mean for the identity of a child? Not the identity because you are a Moyo, but identity in terms of, as a person, this is how I function. As a society, this is what we say is right. This is what we say is wrong. By what principle are we running? It's not a yes, I've won the argument today. So we can win this battle, but lose the whole war in the end. So we have to pick which battles we want to win and decide if we lose the war and win this battle.
Can I also jump on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
so maybe just going a step back to what Tari was saying, that we can, it's possible that we cannot it's possible that we can create our own polyandry, whereby more like a matriarchy kind of polyandry, whereby the woman runs the show. It's very possible, but I think it becomes possible when women are the ones who have who own the means of production, and they are the ones who owns like sources of resources. But at the current moment, we find that patriarchy is skewed in a way that more men are the ones who own means of production. So they are the ones who kind of have the providing power. So just in case you're a woman and you don't have any means of providing for people or for the people that you have, and then you wake up to a man who is actually providing for you and say, I want to have another man, do you think that man will agree? And then they will just say, okay, it's fine, you can go and marry another man, and then they will divorce you. What are you going to do? You're back to square one. So I think it will be very much possible to create a matriarchy kind of polyandry if women, if there was equality in the distribution of wealth. But it's at the current moment, it's not compatible because it seems like there is no that equal distribution of wealth, and it actually places more women in danger than in a place of advantage. That's maybe number one. Number two, adding on to what Linda was saying, like on the identity of the child that are born into that setup, people, they have different parental styles. Who is really going to dictate what kind of parental styles that you're going to give to these children? What kind of rules are you going to set up when you're raising these children? Because now this child is exposed to 3 or 4 different guys who have 4 different kind of, and 5 including the mother, who have 5 different parental styles. What kind of values, beliefs, goals, and everything that you're going to instill into this child? Are you going to break them into 5 different values, 5 different belief systems, 5 different whatever, and then you're going to give them to one child? How is it going to? So I think it actually creates an identity crisis to the children who will be born in such a setup. And also, referring to what Daniel was saying, that like there are certain societal gender roles. It's possible to juggle 5 boyfriends, but it becomes very difficult to juggle 5 husbands, because when you say that you're getting married, there's a certain kind of responsibilities that you are expected. It becomes an expectation, and certain people, they are entitled to those things. But when it's a boyfriend and girlfriend, you can always juggle it around and say, you know what? But if you have 5 people who are demanding things that they feel they are entitled to just because they get married to you, it becomes a whole different thing altogether, which becomes very difficult to juggle for. So it strains even the mental health of a woman trying to juggle 5 different people who are coming with 5 different vibes. Even to a physical health, you want to satisfy 5 different guys who have 5 different energies, or even 2 guys who have 2 different sexual needs and everything. It becomes so straining, and physically and mentally. So and considering the setup that we're in, and the kind of guys that we are dealing with, you always cry. Women, they always cry with the African guys. Imagine you're jungling 5 of those guys. Mashurug. Imagine you're juggling five mashurug. Huh? How are you even going to survive that? It's more like suicide. Like you're placing yourself in a very suicidal trail. And sorry, I'm talking too much. One last point. We already have a number of deadbeats already, deadbeat fathers, right? And then, do you think when a guy gets into a setup whereby there are 3 other men or 2 other men that he feels they are also taking part in providing for the woman, do you think every 3 of those guys will meet their needs to provide either for the children or for the woman who is in that setup? So you find maybe there will be one person who will be slacking in terms of providing for the family, or all of them will just slack, leaving that woman with 2 or 3 or 4 different kids that doesn't have anybody to take care of, because these guys, they'll be like, how can I take care of a child that I don't even know it's mine? We are talking about the mentality of the guys of the society that we're living in. We have people who knows that they slept with you, and they know that they are the father of that child, and then they'll deny responsibility. But now you are in a setup whereby you are 3, and there's 90% chance that he's not even the father. You think that person will be forthcoming and taking care of those children? No. I'll rest my case for now.
I really am burning to say a lot of things now.
Better way, sister.
Roland is talking about identity crisis and the values and stuff. Well, I think that the same way people instill values in a setup where a man has 5 wives and stuff, we are saying this is okay. Hypothetically speaking, it's a matriarchal home. The woman is in charge, so the values that go are my values as the woman. uh, I am the provider, and I think, okay, to match what you are saying, let's just say polyandry is for women with money.
Mm.
If you don't have money, don't try it at home. It's not for you. It's for women with money. That gives them the power, because I think men have been managing to control women because of wealth, because the man is the provider theory, so it has given men that power over women, or power to be the head of the family, right? So if I am the woman and I'm the breadwinner in that home, I think it makes it easy now to call the shots, to give the children my surname, to say that my parenting skill is the one that's superior in this home. Like, I think we're just changing what the man does
Yeah.
in a patriarchal family. Then that's what the wife does in this matriarchal setup. I know it's very difficult, because men, like Daniel was saying, men love that thing, because they are used to being the head of the family. But I think once a man agrees to be a second or a third or seventh husband, they know what they are getting themselves into. So you are not going to be married and you guys are 5 on one woman and you want to call the shots. No, you don't call the shots there, because this is a matriarchy. It's the woman who's going to be telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, because she is the provider. So she is the head of that family. Well, that's what I think. And by the way, guys, I really think this doesn't work in Africa, but I am just saying this.
Just putting it out there. Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm not married, but I mean, I wasn't aware that just because a man has married you, that means everything that he says goes, and that's that's it. Sounds, I thought you kind of are in a relationship and you kind of doing raising the children together. But anyways, a conversation for another day. So yeah, Daniel, what are your thoughts? There's been just so much that has been said, and I think there's a lot for us to ponder on. And I think in the African context, this polyandry is a little bit difficult for us to really grab and run with it, just hearing everything that everybody has been saying. But I'm really interested to hear what your views are at this point, Daniel. And then Linda, I've just been seeing you nodding your head and doing this as Tarira and Roland were also speaking. So I'd love to hear what your views are, because there's been a lot that has come alight on this discussion.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. So, one of the things I want us to bear in mind is that we have the human race is not just coming to existence. There's been thousands and thousands of years of human existence, and I would say that, and I hope this argument holds some water. But I would say that you can look into societies and see the patterns that work, and most of the time it's those patterns that have endured over the years, over the generations. Of course, polyandry exists. There are societies where it is practiced, but it's very, very rare. And I think that's not unrelated to the fact that there's been the human race has come to certain understanding over the years of evolution. I would say that I still stand on my point that the family structure where the man provides support, leadership, for the home is more African, and it's more compatible with who we are, not just as the African people, but even in the world at large. Okay, and I also want to point out that because I've been seeing some comments about how if we have a polyandrous system, maybe the men will still be providing. It doesn't change anything. The woman would have multiple providers and all. And I want to say that one of the psychological, let me put it that way, one of the psychological constructs, one of the ways men think is that if I provide for you, if I am the provider in this relationship, I expect some sort of loyalty. Okay, so I think it would be incompatible in a sense for you to have a man who is providing, who is supporting the house, and then the woman still keeps multiple partners. I don't think it would be psychologically compatible. And then one more thing I want to say is that women have if you look at the polygyny structure where a man has multiple wives, most of the time it's to satisfy some sort of sexual desire. Okay, let me put it this way, let me put it more clearly. So usually you find that a woman's period of sexual activity is lesser than that of a man more often. And so many of these people who are polygamous, some of them had married wives that were probably in their age gap and age range or something. And then with time, when the marriage progressed, probably the men had more sexual desires and they wanted to marry younger women to satisfy that urge. I think that's also one of the factors that led to the spread of polygamy. And if we reverse it, I'm trying to see how that works. Okay, because of course, if you have a polyandry structure, you have a woman with multiple guys. So how does she keep up? Okay, how does she maintain that relationship with all of the men at the same time? So these are some of the questions that come to my mind when I consider this whole thing. And I feel that if polyandry will work, let's give it let's try to give it some hope. If it will work, there would be a lot of reorientation. There will be a lot of restructuring in the way people think and consider issues. But honestly, right now, I don't really see it working.
I don't see it working either, because I think it was Roland who was saying like there's 5 different energies, it's 5 different men. I'm just speaking for myself, and as a woman, I don't think I would cope. And I know a lot of women that don't even agree to polygamist being involved in such marriages. I don't think I would cope as well, emotionally, psychologically. And I think those are some of the things that we really need to consider when these kind of stuff are coming into play, that the psychological effects of it and everything else. But I don't want to say much. Linda, do you have anything to contribute at this point?
Yeah, okay. So I'm just thinking 2 sets plus of in-laws as a woman. I don't know. I don't know. It's a bit tricky there.
It's a lot of drama.
It's yeah. So some of the things that have been mentioned are things about the wealth, like the means of wealth, that the women don't particularly have control over it. I personally feel that is a bit biased, because there's a certain way that women actually run the household, and there's an illusion that the man runs the household. But in actual fact, if you give a woman 2 kg of mealie meal, she will cook for a family of 10 for the whole month. It's not admirable. It's not, but they have a way of working out the economics of things. So in terms of working out the wealth, I think that can be very subjective, and it's subject to a lot of other things. But think of it my understanding of the polyandry debate is not so much equality. It's more on the issue of give me a choice. I want to be able to have the option. I may not exercise the option, but I want to have the choice. So it's not so much that I will have 5 different husbands, but I want to be able to fantasize and to think that I could if I wanted to. And then Daniel spoke about the fact that the sexuality between the males and the females in the societies where it was practiced successfully. It was one of the motivations was actually that as the man gets older, there should be a helping younger man to keep things a bit running. But the argument can go either way. Uh, the younger man that came into this marriage came in to revive, and it was usually a relative or something like that. And then the woman would bring in someone else to keep things going because this man is tired, this man is like this, and this man would agree. So that can always be argued in a different light. But at the end of the day, what Roland is talking about in terms of the different energies, the different things that all these different people are bringing, like Tari said, similarly, in a setup where there's polygyny, the women there are more women, there are multiple wives to one husband. All these women come from different families. They come from different walks of life. They bring different things into this marriage, and it's all loaded into this one thing. So if you're loading on the one end of the scale, the woman will also be loading that many energies, unless you then go into the spiritual side of things and then try and explain it from spiritual portals and those kind of things, which is very different because we are all of very different religious convictions. It balances somehow, like Tari is saying. If the males can the same way it runs in a multiple wives setup, it will run the same way in a multiple husbands setup. Roland is laughing. Okay. Yeah, but the multiple in-laws, I don't know, they just get me. That's where I would not exercise the option right there.
But I'm thinking about who cooks, guys. Like in this setup, I mean, you know how things happen in when there are 5 wives. Like the man is the provider, right?
You
So
got a
women have
chef. You got
their
a
own
No,
chef.
kitchen
but
there and
but
stuff. So
Tyre,
how does it happen? Like
but 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 isn't the setup that I have my own house, and if he's got a second wife, the wife also has her own house. I don't think is the setup that we all living in one home, or it's different homes, which is why I
Five slums.
think the issue of wealth comes into play. That not any Tom, Dick, and Harry can actually, be part of this whole setup, because there has to be some element of wealth. Because if you're marrying all 5 of us, surely you should be able to buy us all houses, and then we should be in the comfort of our own homes. Because
Amen.
I think there would be a proper war if you've got 5 husbands living in one house.
someone
I mean,
someone said in the comments, someone said it's the second husband who cooks and does the dishes. You know why I asked this question?
oh my
I was
goodness.
imagining a setup where, for example, in the rural areas, there is one husband, and then there are 3 or so kitchens. Like the wife, every wife has their own, and mostly they have their own bedrooms and stuff. It's actually a mini household, and then there is their husband. So actually, the man chooses which bedroom he goes to each and every night, or they have a duty roster or something like that. I don't know. So now I'm trying to think about it, and because men cannot have kitchen, let's look at it like in a rural setup. Forget about the urban where you say he has his own flat or apartment. Let's go to the rural areas. what's going to happen? Are we going to be giving these men kitchens, their own kitchen, to say if husband one, husband two, husband three? And if so, how is the cooking happening? Is this man cooking for himself? As Africans traditionally, it's the wife who cooks for the husband, right? That's how it is. So now I'm thinking, am I going to be moving from kitchen one, kitchen two, cooking for everyone, or I am going to be cooking in my main kitchen, and I'm gonna have all of them coming, and then we sit down together and eat as a family. That kind of a thing. I don't know if you get what I'm saying,
Yeah,
but
so
it's coming from a point of worry and concern, or on behalf of those who want to do this. Like I said before, guys, I cannot manage. African men would dribble you. I can't imagine two.
yeah, so I think Terry, you raised a lot of valid points, and so does that mean that the roles are being changed completely, or is this just now? Because I mean, those are all the things that one has to consider. Are the roles now changing completely? Are we flipping the coin, flipping the story, and we're just saying this is that? The only thing that's not going to change is the fact that a woman is the only one that can carry a child, but everything else changes. Is this what we're saying? Is that I don't know. What are you guys? Where are we in this whole thing? Are roles really changing, or what's happening here?
Can
I
we even
Roland?
think
change
maybe
them?
that, yeah, I think that would mean the roles are changing, which I don't see also that to be very compatible, because you know what, some of these roles I would say, if they will be more compatible with a generation or two after us, because some of us of this generation and the generation behind, they were raised in a setup whereby most guys, even now, there are women in marriages now who are crying that their guys, they don't even know how to cook, they don't even know how to do dishes, they just eat and then they leave the plates where they can't do anything. And then you want those guys to say, okay, we are going to be in a polyandrous setup. That nigga can't cook. He can't even do dishes. And then now suddenly you are now overhauling this thing and say now you are starting to cook, and it's not compatible. But I think maybe a generation from us, when we raise our kids, because now I think most of us would definitely raise our kids and say doing dishes, doing house chores, it's a life skill, it's not a gender role. So I think in a setup whereby there's certain practices that have been already been in place, it becomes a little bit compatible. But with a generation like us or a generation before us, it's kind of difficult to start now telling a person who is now 35 to say, now we are giving you a kitchen and now you're going to start cooking or you start have to do, or you have to cook for 5 different people. I don't think it's compatible, and I don't think it's a thing that we can do in one day to just say we are changing roles. And maybe I also wanted to ask a question to the ladies. When Linda was saying that, like the way a man juggles 5 women, I think sexually is a woman can also do that. But I think from what okay, this is what I have read, that and this is also what I've read, number one, and what I've experienced, so also in my own personal life. So I'm not generalizing, but I feel that for most men, sex is just sex. The only you just need to get into that, and then you just nut, and then you sleep. But for most women, yes, no, it's possible for women to just also want to get that thing and nut and sleep. I'm saying, but I'm saying I thought for most women, it also carries a lot of emotional connotations with it. That, like when you decide to sleep with somebody, you are in a certain mood, you are in a certain kind of vibe, and you have a certain kind of emotional connection with that person. Like I'm not saying but I'm saying that's what I thought. So when you just say now you can be able to just juggle them around, and then you just go to this person, you just nuts, and you don't have anything that you're feeling towards that person at that moment, even with your own person, sometimes you're not even in the mood of just doing those things with them. And now you are in a setup whereby you have 3 or 4 people who are actually expecting you to fulfill those needs. How can you? But I think for a guy, you can just go and just gwa, and then you can just, whether it's 2 minutes or anything, you can just,
Coach, coach,
I don't know.
these
Yeah.
people are your husband. These people are
Yeah.
your husband. Okay, they are not people off the street, right? So you have an
Mm,
intimate connection with each one of them. It may be different from husband to husband, but you have a different connection with each of them, right? You are not, probably the dynamics of how you do it or when you do it or the mood and whatsoever will differ from person to person. But we're forgetting that this is now a formal setup. This is no longer I see you today and da 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 da, goodbye. Tomorrow I will wake up and I will see your ugly face and you'll still be my husband. So it's not detached in the way that you're thinking, right? And like I think someone in the comments explained that the small details work themselves out, right? Which is why I'm
okay.
saying all of this can be argued for. By the time it comes to, like it has come to South Africa, to a green paper level where people are being asked to put input on their thoughts about this. There's someone who has made all these arguments. Someone who has said, "Listen, if it's now in my household, man, I will work it out." The issue is, give me the option, right? So let's argue from the option, from saying culturally, can we give you, so the argument is now at a level where culturally or societally, should we be giving you this option? If we're giving you this option, I mean, who does dishes in your house? Right now, we can't be going house to house and playing Vice Jesus, Deputy God, who does dishes here. But you are literally running those things on a ground level, right? No matter how you were raised, where you come from, who picks up whose socks, that's not that. As a society, are we saying we want to give this option for people to have these options? What are the implications later on of this being done now, right? In Africa, this is how we work, these are our values, this is what we are standing on. We believe it because ABC, or we believe it because it has worked before. We believe it, and we're giving you the option as a woman. We trust you to use your discretion, we trust you to use your wisdom in how this thing will work. I think that's where we're standing at this point in time. There's lots of arguments. Men will be fighting. What will divorce court look like? What will maintenance court look like? What is the pressure on our societal selves? That's where we're standing now,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I mean, that just brings me to our last question, or just something. But like, are we really, as Africa, I mean, in all fairness and in all, just looking at the way that we were raised, looking at our current socio-economics, are we really ready for this kind of thing to take place? Or are we just taking every ideology that is coming into play and just running with it without actually just thinking about it clearly, and just maybe taking a step back, and just like you've been raising, Linda, just to say, what are the long-term effects of this thing? Are we just jumping into stuff and just saying, oh, now this is what is happening and are we doing it? But can we really cope as Africans with such a law coming into play? Daniel, you can go first and just and let us know.
Okay. So I would say that largely the West is influencing Africa. Of course, we've tried our best to stay African, but with time, I see that a lot of things we call African will change eventually. I feel that globally there's a drive towards emancipation of human rights. Everyone wants to be able to do what they want when they want it, and I see that Africa is going to be, if not the last, one of the last continents to, um, you know, to be as liberal as the world is going right now. But I'll just say that right now, from what I can see, The African culture is unique and distinct. We have a setup which has worked for us over the centuries. We have an understanding of the family structure, and I think that for now, polyandry is not something I see working. Uh, if it's going to work, there's going to be a complete reversal of roles. A lot of things are going to change, and I don't think that change can be as drastic as will permit the adoption of this practice now in this current generation. Maybe in the next generation or the one after, perhaps we will be closer to that. But right now, with the way we've been raised, with the way things are going, I don't think it's feasible at the moment.
Thanks, Daniel. Linda, do you have your hand up? Do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I think, like Daniel is saying, is it sustainable for Africa? Can our system sustain the mental health issues that come out of this? Can it sustain the health issues that come out of it? Can it sustain whatever else is a spin-off of this? I think the point that South Africa is trying to make in making it a law, case in point, Kenya had a case where a woman came and married her two husbands, and there was no grounds legally for saying no to this, because there was nowhere in the law that it said, no, you cannot do this. So it's either it's stated in clear terms, yes, it can be done, or no, it cannot be done. So that's one argument that South Africa is putting forward. Like, if we're putting it in writing, it's allowed, then it's allowed. Or no, it's not allowed, then we know it's not allowed. So the sustainability going forward, our beliefs, what are we doing forward? Where does it end up? What is driving us, and who is influencing us, like Daniel was saying?
Okay. Stan wants to know more about the Kenyan story. Linda, do you have more?
So it was a case where a lady took on a husband, and then one of the husbands was coming to the courts to say that it was illegal, and she argued successfully that, listen, there's no way in the law that it says no, so are you staying? And they stayed on. They are a unit.
They are a threesome. They are
They
a
are a
threesome.
unit. No, let's call it the preferable term is a unit. Yeah.
Okay. Sarita, do you think we are ready as Africa, or are we just taking on everything? What are your thoughts?
No. We are very far from being ready as Africa, and we are just being, Africans. We have been taking a lot of things from other societies without even thinking and weighing in options. So I really think, speaking as an African, we are not ready, because it takes us back to the first point that I raised, that the structure of our society on its own does not support polyandry. Someone in the comments was saying that, no, let's not talk about culture when we are talking about polyandry and stuff. Let's just talk about it. I don't think we can run away from culture. We are people. Culture shapes us, and there is no way we can separate this whole thing from culture. So it means our African structure, wherever in Africa, it really does not support this whole thing. So I think as Africa, we are not ready. Culturally, we are not ready generally, and we are not even ready biologically. Like I said, guys, that this whole thing, it poses a lot of challenges, even biologically, on women, even and men as well, on humanity. So I really think we are not ready. But I wanted to say this thing: monogamy is something that I really think is a very difficult concept for human beings. Human beings find it very difficult to be monogamous. In fact, they shouldn't be. But anyway, that's another story. So, but yeah, Africa is not ready.
Roland?
Okay. Yeah. I also agree with what the other guy said as well, that I don't think Africa is ready for such a practice, considering the fact, and I feel that we have better issues to really work on before we start to talk about the issue of polyandry. We have to fix the uh, like our healthcare systems so that they can be able to cope with the mental health issues that will come out of this practice. We have to fix the distribution of wealth first, so that both genders, they are at par when it comes to that. And so we have a whole lot of things that we need to fix as a continent for that practice to be very compatible with our society. And I'm sure at the current moment we are not ready, and there's also a possibility that we might not be ready in the next generation and even the generation after. So I don't feel that it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't think we are ready, and I don't think we will ever be ready. I don't care which generation it is. I think it's emotionally taxing just being in relationships with multiple partners. I mean, people might lie and make it look rosy and whatever next not, but there's a lot of settling that goes into it. There's just a lot of things that work on you as a human being. Um, so yeah, I also personally don't think we are ready and we will ever be ready, and we do have a lot of things that we need to work on. I mean, there's so many women that are not married currently, and I think we've got a shortage of men. So just imagine now one woman having three men all to herself. My goodness, that just works against the culture of ubuntu. That just goes against the grain completely. It's just a selfish practice, I think, and I think we need to question some of these things as they come into play. And there's a lot of other things that are coming into play from the West, and they are coming into Africa. And I think us as Africans, we need to question these things and not just be absorbing and absorbing and absorbing. And I think it's good to look at things in a context, as to what it will do in the long run. And so we have come to the end of our show, and we just want to do here parting shots from the panelists, and then we will just call it a day. Daniel, you can start your parting shots.
Okay, thank you. So it's been a wonderful conversation, and I've learned a lot of things. Primarily, the fact that uh, if a woman chooses to do something, she can. I think I learned that from Tyro, and it shouldn't be. I don't think the question is about whether a woman can do it. I think the question is whether it would work very well in the kind of society that we have. So I would say that looking at the African context, the African culture, polyandry is not something we can do. It would bring a lot of modification to the way things are done right now, and I think it would be too drastic at this moment, at this point in time. I also want to just make a parting case for uh, monogamy in a sense that I feel we're talking about how a woman and a man are supposed to share a connection in a marriage, in a relationship. I think that's very important. And I'd like to say it's not just important for the females. Yes, men can go in and out of sexual relationships, and it may not appear to be much of a big deal, but I still believe that even as men, that we still have some emotion as well. And so I feel what is good for the goose is good for the gander, in the sense that mutual relationship, that exclusive relationship, is still obviously better than having uh, multiple partners, in my own opinion. Okay. And that's be my parting word for today.
Thank you, Daniel. Tarira, what are your parting shots?
Oh, okay. I would say polyandry is something that we really need to, let's forget about it. That's what I think. Yeah, let's forget about it and focus on other things, like Roland was saying, because I really think we are trying as Africa to just focus on things that won't help us, things that won't build the economy, things that won't solve the problems that we actually have. I mean, as Africa, we haven't even tried figuring out depression. We still think it's Western. Why are we giving ourselves new problems that are going to take away the time that we should invest in things that I think are more important than this polyandry thing? In as much as women might want or to push the agenda of equality and empowerment and other things, I think there are so many ways that we can try and push that agenda without really saying we want to have multiple husbands. And also, like Queen said, men are fewer than women. So please, ladies, let us not be selfish, because it's actually hard finding a boyfriend out there right now. So if someone wants to take 5 at one time, what are some of us going to do? You know, it's not fair. So yeah, that's all I can say. That let us try and focus on other things as Africa. We are lagging behind in so many things, and we are busy focusing on things that are not very important. Let us focus on things that are going to build society, that are going to solve the mental health problems that we are faced with right now, that no one is actually really focusing on, and think that is going to help us. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Linda, do you want to go next?
Okay, so my parting shot is really, as a society, what is our threshold? When is it going to stop? What are we going to stop at? What is our value system? And where do we actually draw the line and say, no, but this we're not even going to consider, we're not even going to debate this. Because then the long-term effects for the future generations, what is it going to do? You know, is it natural for us to be doing this? If it's not natural, and we can still argue, I'm a great person and I want to be a great person, but listen, you know, in the bigger scheme of things, what is the threshold? You know, we just need to have that decision in place, and then know when something comes up, listen, it's not even going to be tabled or discussed. It's just a simple no.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you, Linda. Danielle, what are your parting shots? You are on mute here.
Yes, I shared my parting thoughts already. I think it should be Roland next.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you did. Sorry, yes. You did. My apology. Oh, sorry, Roland. It's Roland. Yes, Roland. My bad.
Okay, no, it's okay, no problem. My parting shot, I think I should say, I think I learned something very important from Linda when she was saying that really the issue is not about really can we do this, but probably it's an issue of just giving women that choice to say, you know what, can that issue of polyandry be on the table in respect to the fact that they'll be in a kind of a relationship with a man. And I think it's a good point to take to just maybe have that choice to for the sake of equality. But in terms of practicing, I would say it's I wouldn't really uphold for people to go and practice that, and because for obvious reasons that I believe that it's not compatible with what's happening with our society and our culture, and it just causes unnecessary strains and like what Terry said, that we have better things to focus on at the moment. We have better issues to focus on. We have better issues to solve than us banging our heads and trying to argue over an issue that even a blind person can see that with what's happening at the moment is not compatible. And so it's more like we're just adding problems to problems that we have already that we haven't even started to tackle, and we're just piling up more things, and it becomes more strenuous for the future generations to deal with some of these issues that we're trying to introduce now. So I would say, for the sake of just giving women that choice, it's a good deal, but for practicing it, it's a no.
Awesome. You guys have been so amazing. There's a lot that I've also learned, but I think what I'm taking out of this whole thing is that losing a battle, I mean, winning a battle, but losing a war. Like in the words of Linda, I'm going to take that out. I think that's what we need to ponder on, that do we really, at what expense are we wanting to win this battle? And so if we are not ready to win, to lose the whole war, then we shouldn't really be engaging in such a conversation and in such a thing. So thank you guys so much for this powerful contribution. And thank you to all our viewers across the different social platforms, YouTube, Facebook. Do join us again next week as we tackle more issues that we find ourselves as Africans faced with. And yeah, thank you guys so much. It's been really awesome. Bye-bye.